Hey guys, FunnyGuyTimmy here. Just wanted to take you guys around on a kind of a mobile setup that I have right here and take y'all to all the different rooms that I have and kind of talk about the different levels of acoustics and different levels of acoustic treatment that I have in there. This is obviously one of the worst rooms that I or anyone else has for acoustics, for voiceover, for audio at all, because it is a lot of the surfaces are smooth, like glass mirrors, like right there, smooth porcelain sinks or toilets, or just hollow tubes or hollow bathtub, just a hollow plastic shape. And this doesn't help either. And everything else is just flat surfaces. There's nothing on the ceiling. There is tile floor. There's no, obviously it's not going to be carpet. So this is literally the worst space to record in. Now I bring this up because there are some friends that I have that have converted bathrooms into voiceover spaces. There was one friend, not going to name who it is, but he had like a downstairs half bath in kind of the basement. And what he did is he shut off all the water in there and he converted it into just a closet space. Because it did have thick walls and it was, it was about this size. Well, probably a little bit smaller because it was like a half bath, probably just up to the point of the bathtub. And then he just shut all the water off, removed the sink and the toilet, and then just redid certain things. So he converted it. So you can use a bathroom, I guess. You would just have to put something on the walls to dampen the echo. But even if you could, I wouldn't recommend it because a bathroom is always very moist and very humid, especially if this is where you're taking showers. It's just always going to be moist and humid, and that's going to be terrible for your microphone and for your recording equipment. And you want to have something that you can put up on a regular basis. So you want to have some kind of more permanent setup because you don't want to, every time you need to record, set up something and it takes like 30 minutes to an hour. That cuts into your record time. So yeah, this is like the worst room. Now what's weird is I've actually gotten demos from people, samples and demos, that almost sound like they're recording in these kinds of spaces. So I don't know if anyone's recording in bathrooms, but if you are and you haven't put anything on here and you haven't converted it or changed anything, don't. Just don't. It's really, really bad. You'd have to really change it up in order to make it work. Alrighty, so now I'm in probably the second worst room that I have-ish. Mostly just because a lot of the same problems, but not as much. Not as much. So this is my kitchen, which is disgusting as hell, but there's not much I can do about that. It's kind of a small kitchen. Also, this light up here does not work, so I have a actual camera light on my face. Anyway, so the kitchen is going to be basically the same problem, but as you can tell, it's not as bad. And the reason is because it's an open space. It's a lot larger space. So when the sound waves go out, they hit walls, but their walls are further away, so when it comes back, it's dissipated. It's not as sharp, as opposed to the bathroom, which was very close together, and so the walls are really only about this far apart, and so there was really quick reverberation, and so it made it sound a lot more hollow and a lot sharper, as opposed to in here, where there's room for the voice to kind of breathe. Also, we have a lot more odd shapes. We got microwaves. We have just things on the wall. We have a lot more odd surfaces. We still have one large wall, but there's actually things covering this large wall, like aprons and towels and stuff like that. And then the ceiling is a lot higher. There's just a lot more in here. So there's more stuff to actually dampen the sound. There's a lot more things. It's not as many flat surfaces. But again, it's tile floor, nothing on the ceiling, and most of it is just smooth surfaces, like smooth counters and stuff like that. you're also going to deal with the same problem of you'd have to set up something and then take it down, and it's probably going to take just as much time, if not more, because it's a larger space than the bathroom. So also you have the dishwasher, the refrigerator, the oven, the sink, so you have moisture and changing temperatures, which again is not good for audio equipment. But it does sound a little better. But if you're in a space where the only room you have available to use is a kitchen, you should probably clean up the rest of your house. So let's move on to the next rooms. Alrighty, so now we are in my living room, which again it's no carpet, it's tile, but it's even larger than the kitchen, which actually the kitchen isn't very far from where I was before. So again, I can still kind of hear the kitchen, but it's not as bad. Now, I do have some things on the ceiling. I do actually have some foam pieces. You can actually see one, I think in the camera, you can see like the corner of it right there. I do have a few of those pieced throughout on the walls and on the ceiling. In this room, there's actually more stuff on the walls. There is, however, one large window. It's just kind of like a patio glass door, sliding door thing. So it's right there. It's gigantic. I do have a curtain covering it, but I can still hear traffic. I can still hear noise. It's not quiet. But I do have, basically every wall has something on it. And the ceiling has something on it. There's nothing on the floor, and I can still hear the kitchen. So this is better than the kitchen, and my voice does get to breathe a lot more than in the kitchen. But it's still not perfect. But in order to get it to sound better than the kitchen, I had to put stuff on the ceilings and on the walls, which is basically what you're going to have to do in all of the rooms. In every single one of the rooms, you're going to have to treat them with something to dampen the reverberation, to dampen the echo. And if you have windows, cover them up to try to get rid of the noise. But benefits to this, it's a lot larger of a space. So if I was to set something up, even if it was just temporary, I could leave it up and move around it, and it wouldn't be in the way. Also, there's not really much of a temperature change in here, and it's not humid. There's no moisture in the air. So, well, not as much. So it's better for audio equipment. So it's way more reasonable. But again, I did have to put a lot on the ceiling and on the walls, and nothing on the floor, but basically on the ceiling and walls. So it does sound better. Now let's go on to the next room. All right. So now we are in the shooting recording room. It's not my voiceover recording studio, but it is. But this is actually like where I sleep, but it's also where I shoot like videos when I'm facing this way, because that's the backdrop that I like to use. And as you can see, there is lots of sound treatment on this wall. There's lots of panels to basically knock out the echo and kind of really dissipate the voice. This entire wall is covered with either curtains or more sound foam. I have lots of things there. There is a carpeted floor. I have acoustic panels on the ceiling, same as the ones in there, which are those kind of yellow ones. I don't know if you can see it. There's another one down there, but you can't see it. This entire wall over here on behind the camera is completely covered from one corner to the next. Basically, every surface has something on it. So it's pretty almost, I'm not going to say completely, but it's almost reverberant free. It's almost completely echo free. But again, I'm still getting noise from obviously the PC, if you can, which is right there. It's right there because it has to be, because it's outside of the recording space. So I have to have it right there. There is a curtain separating the living room from here. Probably it's a better curtain. It's a better treatment than the one that covers the window in there. Just because it just is. It's just better quality. It's just is. This curtain is very, very thin, so it doesn't really block out anything, but it does help to block out light, and it does kind of act as an uneven surface to kind of help dissipate more of the reverberance. So this is the second best room. Basically, any room that has carpet and is away from moisture, you can use as a recording space. Now, a larger room is going to take more to get rid of the echo, to get rid of the noise. It's going to take a lot more time. It's going to take a lot more money. You could, however, if I wanted, I could set up like a tent here, some kind of half tent to isolate this setup that I have in this space, and it might work just as well as my actual voiceover space. But there's still a lot of noise, especially with the computer. It's still open to the living room around the corner, which means I can hear a lot of the noise that's happening outside of that sliding door. And there is still this window right here. So I want to get away from windows. It's probably the big thing about this room is getting away from windows and getting away from open areas. I want to actually isolate it. But ultimately, there's not as much echo. There's not as much reverb. And it's further in the apartment, so it's farther away from the traffic and all that kind of stuff. So, but now let's get to the last one. The one that all you guys are really familiar with. All right, and now we are in, obviously, my recording studio, which has everything that you'd want. It's away from windows, it's away from doors, it's in the middle. It is dry the entire time. There's no running water, there's no steam, nothing near this area. It is wall-to-wall acoustic paneling, carpeted floor. It's a relatively small space, so it doesn't have that open airiness. It's hard to describe, but it's this kind of... It's more isolated. It's more isolated on the voice, which is kind of what I wanted and what I was going for. When it's kind of an open space, it sounds bigger, which actually is kind of a good thing. You actually, at some point, your goal is to have a recording space that is much bigger than this kind of... I can't even stretch out my arms all the way out to both sides. This kind of small box. Your goal is going to be to get a bigger space. One where the voice can breathe, where it can flow, where it can be free. But at the same time, with no bass and no echo and no noise. So eventually I would want a space that's probably about like 3 times bigger than this. But that's probably not any bigger than that, just 3 times. But yeah, again, so it really comes down to the treatment. It really comes down to the treatment, because if I didn't have this space, that previous room, totally fine. Totally fine to record in there. It just needs stuff on the walls. Now, as you can see, there's like no gap between these. It's like they're really wedged together. I cut out pieces to fit around the lights and all this kind of stuff. So it's very, very isolated. It's very closed in. So, anyway, yeah, I'm not really sure what to tell you guys, other than the most important thing is moisture control, noise outside, noise inside, which would be like the fans on your computer, air conditioning, stuff like that. Carpet. If you don't have carpet, just throw a rug down. Just throw a large rug. And then make sure there's stuff on the walls. Basically, each one of these rooms was just an example of different levels of treatment. Different levels of acoustic treatment. Just different levels of from nothing to everything. From no treatment and just smooth surfaces to rough surfaces, odd shapes, to treatment on the walls and on the ceiling, to carpet and noise-free, echo-free, moisture-free. It's basically kind of an example of what to look for, what not to look for, if you don't have a closet space. So, anyway, I don't know if this is actually beneficial to anybody. If it is, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't gain anything from it, give it a thumbs down. Totally fine. If you guys want to see other videos or want to ask me any questions, leave those down in the comment section below. If you're new, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And until next time, peace.